This
So
conference will now be recorded.
this conference is now being recorded. Let's see. We have the roll call and opening the meeting. So I will go down my list. And if you will just state that you are here or present. Richard Ward. I know he's on. All right, I'll come back to him.
I saw his mouth move, but I didn't hear him.
Oh, Rick Ward. Your sound might be low. Check your sound, okay? Because your mic is on, and I do see you. Kayla Kress?
I'm
Is
staff.
Kayla
I'm staff.
your staff?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought my list was only going to be the members. So Amanda Reed,
Here.
Dean Valeri. I hope I said that right. I think I messed it up last week too. Dean? Okay, you're okay. I see your mic was now coming on. All right. Jeff Tolston?
Here.
Let's see. Kathy Norton?
Here.
And and Roger Hoyt. Am I missing any? Who's a commissioner? Okay. So that's our 7. So we'll go on to the meeting minutes that were sent out to everyone for November 9th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve minutes as presented.
Okay, and is there a second? Okay, Brad Harris just came
I'll
on.
second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote to approve the minutes of November 9th, 2023. So Roger Hoyt,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Aye.
Jessica DeRoy,
Aye.
Rick Ward. Okay, your sound is off, Rick. I know it is because your mic is on. Alrighty. I have somebody on that it says caller 01. Who is that?
Mary Jo Bohart from Fitchburg, but I need to abstain from the minutes approval.
Okay. So Mary Jo is on. Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Brad Harris. Oh,
Brad Harris
just
is staff.
staff, right? I'm sorry. Dean. This is the vote on the minutes. And your microphone might be low as well because I see it on, but I don't hear you. Okay. All right. Why did that come on before I was done?
What, the detailed agenda?
Yeah.
I asked Kayla to pull up the agenda for the meeting. It's usually here. That's all.
Okay. All right. So, but it was easier for me to do the roll call is why I'm saying
Oh,
that.
sorry. We always put the detailed agenda up, so I'm sorry. We can take it
Yeah.
down. But okay, take it down, Kayla.
Did I miss anyone on the vote for the minutes? So Kyle, is Kyle staff or, because I
No,
did,
I'm from Royalston.
Royston. Okay, so do you have a vote on the minutes, Kyle?
Yes, and that's yes.
Okay, thank you. And Kathy Norton, I already called you?
No, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, so that is everyone except Christopher Monroe just came on. Chris, did you hear the motion on the minutes? Did you read them?
I was not here when the motion was called, so I don't know if
Did you?
I would vote yes if
Okay.
that's permissible.
All right. All right, well, that's it, because we just had a motion a second. There wasn't really any discussion or change. So Christopher Monroe has a yes. And nobody else has come on that I can see. Keep switching around, but I do like being able to see this. Okay, so all the votes were unanimous for the motion on the minutes. Now, if you'd like to go back to the agenda on the screen, that would be great. And if we could follow this kind of thing in the future, that would also be good, because it was much easier to see everyone and get their vote. Cash schedule. Roger, are you going to do this?
There, I'll unmute myself so I can do that.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
All right. Opening balance of all accounts was $547,250.87. Had cash receipts. Is there a subtotal for that? When transferred, so total receipts, $276,368.14. Total cash on hand before this warrant, $823,619.01. Less the amount of this warrant, all cash disbursements, $269,991.99, leaving a balance after this warrant of $553,627.02. If we continue down. And a total on deposit balances at $553,627.02. Does anyone have any questions on the balances? Hearing none. Madam Chair, Jeff Tillotson makes a motion to accept the cash disbursements pending audit.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there a second?
I will
Christopher.
second.
Thank
Kathy.
you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Amanda Reed, how do you vote?
Aye.
The caller on Owen, I forgot, I didn't write down who that
Mary
was.
Jo Bohart, aye.
Mary Jo. Okay, thank you. Dean? Oh, see, and I can't see him now. Dean is there. Okay. Okay. Jeff Tillotson?
Jeff Tillotson, aye.
Jessica DeRoy?
Aye.
Kathy Norton?
Aye.
Christopher Monroe?
Monroe, aye.
Kyle Nardowitz?
Aye.
Rick Ward? I have to look at him waving or something. Okay. Roger Hoyt?
Roger Hoyt, aye.
Okay, and Laura Schifrin, aye. So the acceptance pending audit is unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, so now we have our guest announcements and questions. I see that we have George.
Yes,
Okay, here, George, do you have a report for us?
yes, Mrs. Chairwoman, I do. The town of Hartford has requested from Mart a new commuter shuttle service between downtown Hartford and Littleton MBTA commuter station to provide access to its residents to the Boston area. The new shuttle service already started Monday, November 6, 2023, for 2 trains in the AM and 2 trains in the PM, with 2 locations for pickup, one at the Town Hall and the other at Hartford Senior Center. And the service, it is a fare-free service, and already people using it.
Oh, great.
The other things I have is MART Cary Street Parking Improvement Project. That project has been completed, creating 50 parking spaces, and that increases our available parking for both employees as well as creating dedicated fleet parking. Additional feature of that project included security fencing, a new storm drainage system, and the burying of the utilities underground. The project greatly improved the MART facility, provided additional much-needed parking, and better secured both the physical site and MART assets. Also hardened our utility security with upgraded line and secured underground conduit. The site looks wonderful. The other thing I have is bus shelters. MART recently installed 2 bus shelters in Atoll, 4 bus shelters in Gardner, and 1 bus shelter in Leominster. Through the grant of the Shared Streets and Space program under Mass DOT for fiscal year 23. As part of this grant, MART will be installing a total of 12 bus shelters in Atoll, Gardner, Fitchburg, and Leominster. And we already start receiving requests from communities. They like what they saw and requesting shelters in their communities. Finally, I have the MART fare changes. MART has implemented the fare changes approved by the advisory board earlier this year, with a reduction in fixed route fares from $1.25 to $1. And we implemented students riding fare free all over the system, as well as no cost transfer between regional routes. Mr. Chairwoman, this is what I have for tonight.
Thank you, George. We appreciate that report. It's nice
Thank
to see
you.
that going on. Okay. Administrative matters, Glenn?
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I'm going to turn this over to Karen, 5.1, the digital outreach planning. Karen?
Thank you, Glenn and Madam Chair. So this little blurb in the agenda is for you to take with you and pass on to other people. It's the presentation from last week. And next page, Kayla, please. And then there's some links that bring you to a lot of different digital equity resources. So this is for you to take back to your community and spread around to all of your people. Can you now go to the PowerPoint presentation, please, Kayla? Yes,
Karen, can
thank
I
you.
just ask on that previous paragraph, has that been sent to the towns?
It's
Like to the-
actually,
And, you know, that
I'm
list of
sorry, it's actually in the meeting folder. But yes, we send out a weekly outreach email that contains this information.
Okay, I mean, that was sent to us in our emails, but I
Right.
just wondered if it went to the towns. Okay, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, Kayla. So this is a presentation that Jeff put together. I gave him the night off tonight. So this is digital equity planning. It's sort of a summary of some of the results and findings that the state has made. Next slide. So the objective for broadband and digital equity for the Haley Driscoll administration in the coming years is that every location has access to high-speed internet, so availability of internet. Every location has reliable service, so quality of service. You may have a line, but it may not be quality. And every resident can utilize and afford the internet, so adoption of cheaper internet. There's an opportunity for Massachusetts to continue to be a leader in connectivity among all states. Next slide, thank you. So MBI, Mass Broadband Institute, is building on existing programs. There are 70 participants, so 70 plus participants so far in the digital equity, and those are shown in blue. We are actually working with Templeton, Winchendon, Ashburnham, Ashby, Fitchburg, Royalston, Phillipston, and Leominster. $3.1 million have been awarded so far, and 12 gateway cities and the city of Boston are participating. Next slide.
Is there a cost to the participation, or do you have to be approved for? Does the community have to be approved for the program, or can they
No,
just sign up?
So there's an application online, a very, very simple application online. And then when the community is chosen, which I haven't seen them deny anyone, they send a list of contractors and consultants that are available to do the work for you. MRPC is one of those contractors, so you can choose which contractor you want to use. We, of course, would love you to use us. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Because do you know if Townsend applied for it?
Not yet.
Oh, I think we could use the help. But okay. Thank you for the
Everybody
answer.
can use the help. You're welcome. So the Municipal Digital Equity Planning Program provides seed funding to municipalities participating in the planning program. And then after you have a digital equity plan, there's going to be open competitive grant funds to municipalities to access larger funding awards. So once you have your digital equity plan that details what your barriers are to digital equity, you take those recommendations and you can apply for these future funding sources. There actually is one that's already available, but I can't off the top of my head remember. Next slide, please. So some of the findings in their listening sessions around the state, participants were asked which demographic groups across the state were most impacted by the digital divide, and this is what we heard. So housing and transit insecure people, makes sense that they don't have internet if they can't afford housing or transportation. They most likely can't afford internet as well. Low income families, that's an obvious one. Individuals in substance abuse recovery, someone's in recovery and they need internet to contact the people on the outside. Seniors who live alone or are in senior housing, and they may want to order groceries, they may want to do medical appointments via televideo. Immigrant communities, non-English speaking, this is a big group right now in the state. Obviously they're coming here and they don't have internet. Incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals. So if you're in prison, do you have the internet? Are you allowed to have the internet? I'm not sure. And they come out and they have nothing. So that's logical that that group is included. Next slide. So engagement findings under availability and affordability. While many survey respondents have internet, it is expensive and challenging to pay for. So while 95% of respondents have internet at home, 47% say it is hard to pay for the internet each month. And respondents reported paying a median of $80 for unbundled internet and $99 for bundled internet per month. The ACP program could help alleviate costs, but 52% of respondents are not aware of the ACP program. So the ACP program is American Connection program, and it's where you get a discount on your internet if you qualify under the income qualifications. If you're already in like SNAP or reduced lunch or whatever, you can apply for it. The AmeriCorps member that we have right now until July, Chloe Zerfoss, she's been communicating with organizations and municipalities all around our region, trying to get people to sign up for the ACP to get reduced rates. And they also have discounted devices in that program as well. I'm actually getting my mother signed up this week, so it's a good program. So in this slide, it shows the affordability gap. So these are the average prices in each of these regions for the internet. Ours is $58.50. As you move away from the Boston, it gets more expensive, which should be the opposite. And if there's more internet service providers in your town, you have lower prices because there's competition. Typically in Central and Western Mass, you have one choice and you have to go with them and you have to go with their price and they know it. And so the prices are high. Next slide, please. So this is a snapshot of Massachusetts about availability and quality of service. So residents of towns in the Berkshires, the Valley, meaning the Connecticut River Valley, Cape Cod, and Central Mass have a higher need for access and quality of service relative to other regions of the Commonwealth. So these dark purple have the highest gap in availability. So it affects the access and quality of service. So the darker it is, the poorer the quality is. Next slide. So this is goes down to closer into our region, and you can see all of the dark purple Fitchburg and Leominster, we expect to have good service, but there's even spots in there that don't have good service. Um, Most of our region has not good service. So 26% of statewide survey respondents reported that their internet service is not good enough to meet their household's needs. 37% of municipalities in Central Mass have little or no competition in the broadband market. Next, please. So this is a snapshot of affordability of internet. Municipalities that have higher shares of households with lower incomes, higher housing burdens, or both, like those in Western Mass and in gateway cities, have higher needs for internet affordability relative to those in other municipalities. So this shows the affordability gap, and of course, the darker the color, the greater the gap. And it looks like we have some white here. It's low. There may not have been data for that, but next slide, please. So we're going to focus in on our region. So you can see some of the darker ones in Fitchburg and Leominster, Gardner, even down to Hubbardston and Barry. These don't follow necessarily borderlines. These are census tracts, so you can maybe see your town represented. This little dark one here is Clinton. Up here, this is Shirley. This is a little piece of air. Next slide. So this is illustrating the adoption of the internet. Towns in Southeast Massachusetts, the Connecticut Valley, the Berkshires, and gateway cities across the state have higher needs for adoption relative to other areas. So the adoption gap is highest with these darker, excuse me, hold on. These darker areas. And now we'll zoom in on our region. Next slide, please. So the adoption gap score is comprised of two scores. One, the percent of homes without internet access or not subscribing, and two, the percent of homes with no computing devices. So they either have no internet or no devices, and no devices. So you can see all of these areas that are darker have issues. In Central Mass, adoption gaps are highest in towns such as Worcester and Southbridge. Statewide, nearly half of survey respondents without internet at home cite cost as a prohibiting factor. Next slide, please. So this is our digital equity planning webpage. So if you go into planning and development, which is under this Planning the Future tab, and then into comprehensive planning, you'll see our digital equity planning page, and all of these links go to different places. You can find here the application for the municipal program. You can find the ACP information. All the information that we have is available here on the website. Next slide. I think that's the last one. Yes, the last one. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I know I went through that fast and probably, it took us a long time to understand this whole program. And we were trained, so myself and 4 members of our team, did training back in August of 2022. And then they didn't start rolling out the contracts until late summer of this year. So we're catching up to how everything works. We have a ton of resources and presentations We had our first kickoff in Winchendon last week, which went fairly well, I thought. And we're going to start kickoff meetings in all of our communities that have contracts right now. Questions? All right.
Seeing none, thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Glenn, are you doing 5.2?
I believe so. I believe I have 5.2 through 5.6. So 5.2, so officially, we want to publicly announce that Mr. Brad Harris, Transportation Projects Director for nearly 40 years with the organization, is retiring. We cannot thank Brad well enough for his service to the region, to his communities. There'll be many more thank yous and accolades and opportunities to thank Brad before he leaves. His last day is on January 5th. So please, if the commissioners want to say something during the meeting later when we're done, that'd be great. I can get through this fairly quickly. The gist of 5.2 is to establish an interview and a recommendation committee for the hiring for a successor for Brad's position as Transportation Projects Director. So the second paragraph there talks about we have a policy in the employees policy manual that says we post internally for a period of 2 weeks to see if there are any internal candidates before we go outside. The next paragraph that talks about says on average, basically it's a very important position. There are actually 2 or 3 contracts that are under the Transportation Project Director's purview right now. On average, for the last quarter century, the Transportation Project Director oversees revenue about 60% of the organization, and right now about 4 staff are also under the Transportation Project Director. The recommendation, those bullets, the first bullet, that we create an interview and recommendation committee to review the applications, conduct an interview or interviews, and make a recommendation to the commissioners for the January 4th meeting if an internal candidate is selected to succeed Mr. Harris. And then the second bullet, that the committee would consist of a maximum of 4 employees identified below and 3 or 5 commissioners. So the committee has an odd number of people. In other words, if we have 4 staff, we're requesting 3 commissioners to volunteer, so it's 7. Or if it's 4 staff and 5 commissioners, so we'd have 9. If you'd go down a little bit more, Kayla, I can round the bases on this one. Basically, I'm going to look tonight for commissioners to volunteer to serve on this interview and recommendations committee. Those are the employees that would serve. Our HR and Human Resources Director. I've asked Karen Chapman to sit in on the interview and recommendation. One of the 4 transportation planners under the Transportation Project Director, to be identified later by me and then myself. The next paragraph I already talked about. We're looking for some volunteers tonight, either 3 or 5. I already talked about the next paragraph. We'll post internally tomorrow. I wanted to have this meeting first and then post the job internally tomorrow. So then 8 plus 14 is 22. So on Friday the 22nd to basically, let's say Tuesday the 26th, we would close the internal submission deadline for the applications of anybody that would apply internally. And then right away, if we have 1 or more candidates, we would then coordinate to interview the internal candidate or internal candidates, if there are any, on the 27th, 28th, 29th of 23, or the 2nd or 3rd of 24, so that the interview and recommendation committee could make a recommendation at the January 4th meeting, in other words, a month from now. Basically, if we don't have internal candidates, then we have to go outside, or if you don't want to hire internal candidates, then we go outside, and then we advertise outside. That's basically the standard operating procedure for advertising. And so I'm going to basically stop and ask the chair if she would ask for volunteers to serve, at least 3, to serve on the interview and recommendations committee. Thank you for your time.
Okay, Glenn. While you were talking, I was thinking, okay, the policy that you have outlined, is it that right now, if the board wanted to, because it is kind of late. I mean, his retirement is coming up quickly, and I assume that you want to have somebody to fill the position as soon as possible. Would it be prudent to do the advertising for this internally and external at the same time?
So the
Just in-
policy states we have to advertise the job internally first, and then we interview if there is a candidate or two internally. What the committee could then do, and discuss this in the committee level, they could discuss, okay, whether or not you like the internal candidate or internal candidates, we have to wait to go through the whole process internally and then advertise after that process is done, according to the policy that was adopted about 17, 18 years ago. So you can advertise, you just have to go through the internal process first. So you could post internally, you could interview the internal candidate or candidates, you could essentially pause that process, then advertise externally, and then see what you get from the outside. During that process, what we would then do is then we would appoint on January 4th an interim transportation projects director to basically take over the reins during the period between Brad's departure and the time that we hire a new full-time replacement. So that's how we would handle that.
Okay, I'm going to ask for any questions from the commissioners, because if there's a way to get it advertised, but not to both internally and externally, but not interview any external until after the 2-week process of getting done with internal, is that a possibility?
So that would violate our policy that's in the manual if we advertise right now externally.
Okay. Commissioners, any comments?
I have a question.
Yes. State your
Um,
name. I can't.
Roger Hoyt.
Okay, Roger, sorry, I can't see you right now. Go ahead.
Okay. If an internal candidate did not apply during the internal period, but is it possible they could apply when it was advertised if they changed their mind or
sure.
whatever?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
anybody could. Okay. Any
Thank you.
other questions? And it may be too late now, but this may be a discussion for the commissioners at a later date, so that this, should this come up again, and it may, with the longevity of some of the employees, that this may not be a good policy and you may want to change that. So I just put that bug in your head. Now I'm going to ask for some volunteers.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would it be possible to have the policy and the manual made available to the commissioners so we can take a look at it?
Yeah, I'm sure that Glenn can get that sent out to everyone in email.
The policy itself?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. We can pop that in the email tomorrow. Sure.
Yeah,
No problem.
I'm also interested in the manual for an agenda item that's coming up later, but I'll save that conversation for that item.
And again, I can't see who's speaking, so when you do want to speak, if you could just state your name.
Oh, sorry, Christopher Monroe.
Oh, Christopher, okay, thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners? And if not, I'm looking for commissioners to volunteer for this issue.
This is Mary Jo Bohart. I'd be willing to volunteer, but I'm concerned that the internal interviews may occur during Christmas time off. In other words, if we're in a very fast on the internal, the holiday tail end of December might be problematic for interviews. I'd be happy to volunteer to be a part of the process. I'm just worried I'm taking some time off around the Christmas holiday.
Okay, probably a lot of people are. Glenn, would you go over, you have 3 days that you're looking at the end of December, 27, 28, and 29, and perhaps the 2nd and 3rd. What would be your process? Zoom, what do you feel the time frame would be on each of those days? Or are you saying that those days are the options and you'd pick one of those days?
You'd only need one of those days, first of all. Realistically, we could do it on the 2nd or 3rd of January, even up to the 4th. I'd prefer face-to-face. I mean, you want to meet somebody during the day, not an evening meeting. And it could be done televideo, but I think in the best interest of all parties, you want to breathe the same air, so to speak. Sorry, that's probably not the best phrase after a pandemic.
Probably
But I think you want to meet in person on something like that. But you don't have to meet, back to Mary Jo's comment, you don't have to meet during December because it is a high holiday season, and that's, sure, people are stretched and so on. So the second or third or fourth would work. And that would be up to the committee.
Madam Chair, Christopher Monroe, a quick question. How many hours of a commitment do you expect it to be on the day? Because that falls right about when I'm expecting paternity leave. So, you know, it would actually work out pretty well to be able to sneak out of the house for if it's a few hours. If it's going to be a full day, I'll probably get murdered for that. But a few hours sounds like a great opportunity.
I think Mr. Monroe, I think the reality is, if let's say we get one resume internally. So however long it takes you to read one resume and cover letter, read the job advertisement, the job description. So let's say that's about an hour of time commitment on your part. The travel is the time depending upon when you get to the office from wherever your homes are. Let's say that's another hour, and then the interview is an hour. So I think you said a few hours, three and a half might be a time commitment total.
Okay, so you would just be expecting like a couple interviews for the day. It wouldn't be like a full open to close day of interviews.
No, this is a pretty straightforward process. We don't interview people and have them take online tests or something. And this is, I think the total time commitment of a commissioner is about 3 hours, including travel.
Okay. Yeah, I could volunteer for that.
Okay, so Christopher and Mary Jo, and the process seems reasonable, and you would like it probably in the middle of the day at Abbott Ave?
That would be ideal. I think that would be best for all parties.
Okay, hopefully no snow. And do I have another volunteer?
Madam Chair, Bob Schwartz from Gardner. I'll volunteer. I think the policy is adequate. I clearly understand it. And I have the time to do that.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 commissioners. Do I dare push for 5? I guess not. So Glenn, you have your commissioners that will serve on the interview process.
Thank you all. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's a schedule that's not lengthy. I agree with that. And the reality is that, you know, things happen. We can't plan on snow. And if this goes out to February, it goes out to February. It's not the end of the world. You know, the MRPC is not going to stop. We appoint an interim. We can manage the process. So, but thank you for all of your input and time. I really appreciate that. And Holly's going to make a note, I'm sure she already has, that we're going to send out the personnel policies to everybody in this room and on the commissioners, so they have them. I think that's what I heard. If I heard correctly,
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
And then there's a resolution down there that you will approve. The recommendation to actually create the committee with those 3 names. I think it was Mary Jo, Christopher, and Bob. If you would be so kind, Madam Chair Lady, to take that vote, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, be it resolved that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby approves the executive director's recommendation to create the interview and recommendation committee as described above, with an appropriate number, with 3 members of the commission to serve on the committee based on the commissioners. Okay, so let me just say, with 3 members who will be Mary Jo, Bohart and Christopher. And Christopher, can you say the last name?
Monroe.
Or are you Monroe? You know, I just couldn't find it. Sorry. And Bob Schwartz. And that's the motion. Is there a second? Or the resolution, whatever you want to call it.
Going to ride all the way back to Arlington.
Jeff Tillotson, second.
We do want
to. Okay, Jeff has seconded the motion as I presented it. I'll take a roll call vote now. Amanda Reed.
Aye.
Okay, and caller 1 again is?
Mary Jo Bohart, aye.
Mary Joe, yes. Thank you. Dean? Dean, thumbs up. Jeff Tillotson?
Just try to,
Jeff
you know, I
Tillotson,
don't know
aye.
what, I don't,
Okay. Jessica DeRoy?
Aye.
Thank you. Kathy Norton?
Aye.
Christopher Monroe?
Aye.
Kyle Nardowitz?
Aye.
Thank you. Rick Ward? Rick Ward, yep, gotcha. Bob Schwartz?
Aye.
Roger Hoyt?
Aye.
Laura Schiffer and I. It's unanimous. Thank you all. 5.3. Glenn?
Okay, thanks. The gist of this is that we basically have had approvals from you folks to hire 3 interns. I'm in the process of reducing hours or eliminating hours of 1 intern that we hired first, and he hasn't been able to put in the hours. And we've hired another intern that worked in the summer. The first one was Corey Suckcastle. The second one was Maitri Chandrekshakar, and the third one's Dottie Bresnahan. This is about Dottie Bresnahan. Basically, Dottie, I hired her, and you approved 10 hours a week, and I'd like to scoot her up to 18 hours a week. And the intern Corey, that's not able to give us the hours, basically take some hours away from his time to put toward Dottie. Corey's got a medical issue, so enough said on that. The reality, that's the gist of this report and resolution. Kayla, if you could go down to the resolution, I'd appreciate it. Maybe that's on the top of the next page. But basically, to scoot Dottie or increase Dottie's hours from 10 to 18. She has a lot more skills than we realized, and she's going great guns on creating another social media account, helping us with social media pushes, advertising, marketing. That's what it is, education, and making website updates. So we could use some more time from Ms. Bresnahan, and then the motion be it resolved, MRPC approves ED's recommendation, increase Ms. Bresnahan's hours from 10 to 18. That's the gist of this, and I'm happy to field questions, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Glenn from the commissioners? Hearing none. Be it resolved that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby approves the executive director's recommendation to increase Ms. Bresnahan's hours from 10 to 18 hours per week. Do I have a second to the resolution?
Jeff Tillotson will second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Mary Jo? Mary Jo? I'll come back. Dean? Got a thumbs up. Jeff Tillotson?
Jeff Tillotson, aye.
Okay. Jessica DeRoy?
With Bob Swartz here, I abstain from voting as the alternate.
Oh, okay, sorry. Kathy Norton?
Aye.
Christopher Monroe?
Aye.
Kyle Nordowitz?
Aye.
Rick Ward? Looking for you. Okay. Robert Schwartz?
Aye.
Roger Hoyt?
Aye.
Laura Schiffer and I. Okay, we just have one abstention there. Thank you very much, everybody. 3.4.
Hi, Madam Chair Lady. This is just information only. There were several staff that attended a Mass Federal Funds office. It wasn't a webinar, it was more of an online session to explain to communities and RPAs that this Mass Federal Funds office exists. This is the stuff in italics is right from their website. Basically, the purpose of the Mass Federal Funds office is to make sure that Massachusetts and its communities get the fair share of the federal government. That is not that we're getting the federal fair share of federal funding that's coming down the pike from Washington and all the programming that's out there. Those 2 bullets, copy and pasted right from the website, and down below those bullets, I believe I put the link to the website possibly. I think we're going to send out an email with a personnel policy and some other stuff later tomorrow, you and I, Holly. So we'll make sure that this link goes out as well and make sure that you have access to it. And we'll send it out to local officials as well, planners, planning boards, and so on and so forth. Kayla, could you scroll down just a little bit more so I could see below the italicized sections? There, okay, there's the link, but we'll put that in the email. That's all I had on this. And 5.5, Madam Chair Lady, I'm going to turn over to Holly Ford, our Administrative Human Resources Director, and then I think I'm going to clean up with 5.6. Thanks.
Okay. Holly?
Thank you. So MRPC held another food drive, which ran from September 25th to about November 21st. We were lucky enough to have the executive director of the Montechusett Veterans Outreach Center. That was the organization that we decided to donate our collected items to. The executive director is Stephanie Marchetti. She came to our office to not only pick up the items that were donated, but also give us an overview of what the outreach center does and how our donated items would be used. We learned many things from her, what they do, their purpose, their goals. They've got some housing that they offer to veterans and their families, as well as health counseling and case management, employment training, just all kinds of things. And they're actually in the process of trying to get additional homes built, which is just very exciting. One of the things that she did talk to us about, though, is the fact that although they receive a lot of their money from grants, one of the problems is that toiletries, cleaning products, laundry, detergent, fabric softener, most of your day-to-day items that you need, that you're not eating, they can't use grant funding to purchase. So those needs are in high demand. We kind of talked while she was there, and it seems like staff is very interested in yet another drive where our focus this time would be on those items that are not able to be purchased with grant funds. So we will be looking to collect, again, toiletry items, cleaning products, laundry, detergents and fabric softeners, things like that. And the goal is, or the goal for us is going to be to set a goal for ourselves, accomplish the goal, and reward our staff with pizza or something. That was something that was suggested. But it'll be a challenge for staff and well received by the outreach center. So that was exciting. We also recently had a coat drive for some people in need, I believe, in the Worcester area. Approximately 10 gently used coats were donated by staff, and they will be donated to assist some homeless and others that are in the Worcester County area. Those are two pictures that you see on your screen right now showing the collected items for the food drive and then the box that we used for our coat drive. Staff was very generous in their giving, and we're hoping to be able to provide the MVOC with another generous offering in the spring.
That's
Back
really
to you,
good.
Bob.
Yeah, that was a great effort. Is this something that I know that it was mostly staff participation in this. When you're doing this, is this something that the commissioners, if they wanted to participate and give you stuff so that you could donate on behalf of MRPC, because we're a part of that, would you be open to that?
Oh, 100%. So this was something new that we decided to do. We've kicked around the idea of trying to open it up to maybe other tenants on the property to see if they would want to participate as well. We talked about announcing it to the communities, but where the office has not been open on that 9 to 5 schedule, it was just something that I had not figured out just how to arrange that. But I would be more than happy to come and collect items or go to the office to open the door to receive items. It's just so needed. And even the food bank is low on items for them to get. So they just have such high needs, and they're doing such fabulous work that we're trying to do whatever we can.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners?
If anybody does have an interest in making a donation, if you want to email me or give me a call, I'd be happy to arrange either a pickup or drop-off time.
Okay. And perhaps when you do this again next year, you can just let us know, because we're all involved in communities that have the same thing, food drives, because there's needy everywhere. But where we are commissioners, perhaps there may be some that would want to help out on that. So just let us
Awesome.
know.
Thank
Okay?
you.
All right. 5-6, Glenn, that was yours?
Yes, it's a pretty straightforward issue. The reality is that the report talks about Jason making a request of me to expend some money to basically facilitate a more streamlined process that's a better and more bulletproof, if you will, to back up the laptops. So we've moved to a laptop system as of March 2020, when we all started working at home. And basically the system and software that we have right now is a little cumbersome, and we need to expend a little bit more money to basically make the system less flawed, to get the backups done of all the laptops. So just a quick overview. So we have 2 GIS and information technology employees. So we have Jason and Kayla. Kayla is here tonight doing all the tech behind the scenes, running the meeting. We outsource a portion of our IT to White Mountain. White Mountain does a lot of stuff to assist Jason and Kayla to make sure that all of our systems operate properly and we have data security and so on and so forth. Jason sent me, I asked him to document, put it on in an email. The bullets there, if Kayla, you could just scroll down a little bit. Portions of Jason's written report to me. The laptops, they're having trouble backing up to our network when they're off site. It's not optimal, difficult to manage. There's an increased fee to White Mountain of an extra $3,600 a year. The laptops would be updated directly to this Acronis Cyber Cloud. Don't ask me to define that. Obviously, it's a backup cloud service. And by making the change, paying for the increase, this will change the backup. Change will make the backups more significantly more reliable, flexible, and easy to manage. We have a subscriptions line item budgeted at $26,000 for this fiscal year, fiscal 24. And that's what the line item started at in June when we set the budget for this year. The cost to include the backup system or enhance the backup system would be another $3,600. That would bring our line item total, if you approve of the increase, to $29,600. And then related information under that below, if Kayla, you could scroll down on that. She probably already is. It's just slow on my end. I just want to give a background. So let's go back 25 to 30 years before computers and before the internet. Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember those days when we did things with typewriters and paper and pencil and notepads. In those days, in the 80s and 90s, the subscription line item in most of our budgets, the MRPC's budget, was for newspapers and periodical articles and magazines. When software came out with the advent of computers, personal computers in the office and the internet, software applications packages that were termed in the 90s and O's, now called apps. We charge those apps because they are online subscriptions. So the term is very similar, and we charge those against the subscriptions line item. So that's where newspapers and periodicals get charged to, but also software apps get charged to, such as in the second bullet, Microsoft, Esri.js, SurveyMonkey, as in addition to the newspapers. So just in the future, for July 1st, 24 for FY25, we're going to segregate subscriptions for newspapers and periodicals away from apps, just so you know, so we can better account for those in the future. You just need some background. It's not really directly related to the vote, but I just thought the history lesson was worth the 60 seconds. And then the motion is there for the chair lady to ask for a motion and a second on. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have a couple questions on this.
Okay. Who's talking, please?
Sorry, Christopher Monroe. And the first one is that other reason that I was interested in seeing the policies, because I went looking to see, well, is there a written information security plan and a written disaster recovery plan that this is plugging into that's driving the change of the backups? And can those
I believe we have a written security plan. I wish Jason was here, but Kayla might be able to speak to it as well. I know we've done some of that planning in the past.
I believe so. I think we had to get an insurance quote for that recently, and we have to have a plan for that, so we must have one.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up, because the follow-up question was going to be, is there a cyber insurance policy that's tied into it? So I guess that modifies those questions to, is the information security plan going to be in the documents that come over? And if it isn't, can it be? And can we also get a look at the disaster recovery plan?
Whatever we have, they're public information, and we'll share it in the email. I hadn't thought of it originally, but Christopher, yeah, we'll just add those. Holly, could you make a note to add the internet security plan and the other plan that Christopher identified, and we can put that in the email to these commissioners? Absolutely, not an issue.
Okay. And I had another follow-up, which and it might just be because MRPC is using specific network architecture, but it seems like MRPC is using Office 365. Why not use Azure for managing backups and manage the storage of mission critical files through SharePoint?
So all that's Greek to me. Kayla, you want to take that or defer to Jason and we can get an answer? Kayla, what's your pleasure?
I have to defer to Jason.
Yeah, if the team says that this is something they need now, I support it. But as a future consideration, this is something that I recently went through with one of my companies because we were doing individual laptop backups and it was causing performance issues, because when you set the backups to download the entire laptop across the network, it does bad things to the network and the computer. So we actually ended up just transitioning to using Azure and SharePoint for storing files, and it all happened automatically. It also helps with
These are
disaster
excellent
planning.
points.
So.
I think if we proceed with this as it's presented now, and we get this done so we have the backups done. But Christopher, would you be so kind as to email Jason, Kayla, and me, and any one of us, quite frankly, and put those terms in the email so we can follow up on Azure?
Yep.
And the other technical terms that you're using, so we can clearly what you're talking about. Because we should research that for the future. Because the phrase "I love to hate" in the English language is that's the way we've always done it before. So if there's a better way to do something, let's look into it. And if it's not better, let's at least do the research. Fair enough, sir?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Christopher, I'd like to also confirm that we do have a cybersecurity policy intact.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Was that Linda?
Yes.
Thank you, Christopher, for that. I'll do the resolution now unless somebody else wants to say something before I do. Okay. Be it resolved that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby approves the Executive Director's recommendation to increase the subscriptions line item in the fiscal 24 budget by $3,600 from $26,000 to $29,600. Do I have a second to the resolution?
Madam Chair, Jeff Tillotson will second this one too.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion? Hearing or
What was the
seeing?
question?
I'll take a roll call vote.
Madam Chair, we need someone needs to move it before we get a second.
It was moved. It was moved by me. I stated the resolution. Okay.
Thank you.
If that's okay, if it's not, I'll take Jeff as a first, and who would like to second? My understanding, I can do it that way, but okay. So who says aye? You need to tell me who you are when you say that you're
Oh,
gonna.
Monroe, I'll second it if you need it.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Dean, I gotta look for you. Dean, I need a signal from Dean Valeri. Okay. Jeff Tillotson,
Jeff Tillotson, aye.
Jessica DeRoy. Okay, Jessica's on the substitute anyway. Okay, thank you. Kathy Norton,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Kyle Nordowitz,
Aye.
Mary Jo Bocart. I know she's on. Rick Ward. Okay, I got the signal. Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, aye.
and Laura Schifrin, aye. Mary Jo, I'll ask you again. Okay, I do not see her or hear her. I know she's on. Okay, so on to the next one. Department updates, 6.1 geographic GIS. Who's doing that?
That would be me, Kayla Kress, standing in for Jason. We are working with the City of Leominster in conjunction with the Planning and Development Department to create some maps for depicting the event that occurred on, I believe it was 9/11, that huge flood event. Essentially, it was like a 1,000-year flood. And we're going to be working with them to identify some potential grant funding in conjunction with the Planning and Development Department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Planning and Development, is that you, Karen? 6.2. Planning and Development.
Yeah, sorry, I was on another page. There's nothing in there. I thought there was things that were supposed to be in there. I don't know. So I have some stuff about, so district local technical assistance is coming to an end this month. We'll be putting out a request for service delivery. Glenn and I have spoken about DLTA and changing it up next year to see if we can find a better way to do DLTA. Over the past 15 years, the average number of projects that we do in a DLTA year is 14. We've discovered that that spreads our team too thin and causes us to not do the work that we would like to do, and we feel like we're rushed in doing projects. So we're going to suggest that, so we get roughly $207,000 each year. We're suggesting that when we put out the request for service delivery, that half of that amount would be for one big project for one community. And I'm hoping that it will be master plans, because about half of our communities don't have a master plan and some have never had a master plan. So we're just finishing up Ashburnham and Hubbardston. We should be done those within the next 2 months. And we want to take on the next community who's already spoken to us about master planning. So when we put that out, it'll be one community, one master plan, about $100,000. We'll probably do 3 to 4 chapters of a master plan. And then we can fill in the rest of the master plan with grant funding from other sources, like a planning assistance grant. There's several grants, 2, I think, in the One Stop program that can give money to communities for master planning. So that's half of the DLTA money. The other half, for next year, we would prioritize MBTA communities. So those communities who don't already have a grant for technical assistance under a planning assistance grant or a Mass Housing Partnership grant should apply for MBTA assistance under DLTA. So those are the 2 things that we're hoping to prioritize for next year. It will give our team more time to do quality work. And also there's more grants available for projects so that the towns don't have to rely on DLTA. And we have a grant writer that can apply for grants for communities. And we have, so next year, we're also getting the DLTA augmentation money, which gives us money to help you apply for federal grants. We're getting another bucket of money in January for that. So we're hoping to apply for a lot of grants for all of you. Specifically the One Stop program, whose the letter of intent should be opening soon and would be due by March, and then the applications would be due in June. So if any community is interested in applying for One Stop, we can do a lot of the prep work now so that when it comes time, it'll be an easy application. We have the services of a grant writer, and we can help you with that. Okay. Any questions on the DLTA portion? Jeff? I don't know what he's doing. Any questions? All right. The grant opportunities spreadsheet is in the meeting folder. And Kayla mentioned the Leominster flooding that happened on September 11th. Jeff Legros and myself have met with Arthur, I always get his name wrong, Arthur Abdali. He's the emergency management director for Leominster. And we met with him a couple of weeks ago. We brought him a map because they don't have updated maps. We brought him a map and we went over certain areas where the flooding was in Leominster, and there were 54 locations where there was damage. And that was just the infrastructure, the bridges, the culverts, all of that. The 54 separate locations where they're hoping to get money from FEMA and are not being very successful. And then there were 1,400 residents damaged also in that. So we're hoping to, help them update their maps so in the future when they're having an incident like this, they have the maps that they need to know what's going on. Even the emergency management office was flooded. Apparently they have a stream that goes under the building. So they're dealing with a lot. So we're hoping, between us and GIS, we can make some maps, determine maybe some solutions to prevent all the damage that happened. and get some grants for them. So that's an exciting project to work on. I believe that's all I have. I don't have the detailed agenda in front of me. Glenn, do you?
Kayla, can you pull it back up on the screen?
That's not the detailed agenda, though.
She's getting there. I have faith.
Oh, and my report on the Brownfields conference is also in the meeting folder. I apologize, it was in August and I'm just getting it in here. I'm not going to read that report.
Okay, thank you. Anybody can read it because we have it in the materials that we got today, I think. Thank you, Karen, if that's all that you have. Does anyone have any questions? If not, 6.3, transit and transportation. Is that Brad?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a couple of items. We are in the start of our new work program year that began on October 1st. So staff is working on several new projects. But also just to call your attention, beginning in January, we start the TIP development cycle all over again. And this will be developing the 2025 to 2029 TIP. It'll begin by reviewing all the projects that are currently available, and then reviewing those projects, scoring them, so on, setting priorities and so forth, with a goal of having a TIP ready for endorsement in May of this year. So that's just to call the community's attention to that. And last month mentioned on the Safe Streets for All grant that we were awarded, we had the RFP out, received 7 responses, reviewed those, whittled it down to 2, had some online interviews with those 2 consulting firms. And in the end, we have chosen WSP USA Inc. as the consultant who will be doing the project. Of all the proposals we received, all of them were excellent. So it was a difficult decision to come to, but they are the consultant that will be working on the SS4A grant. We have a draft contract over to them that they're reviewing, and hopefully we can get something worked and signed before the end of the month, and then we can begin the entire process of the development of the safety action plan. And that's scheduled for about a 24-month time frame. And part of the local match will be trying to obtain some DLTA funds from Karen for each year of the program. That's basically all I have right now.
Thank you, Brad. Sorry to see you go. Done a great job.
It's time.
Yeah, I understand. Appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So next is new business for anything unforeseen. I do not have anything. Glenn, should I have something?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. I'll open it up to the commissioners. Does anyone want to bring anything up to discuss or put forward that you haven't already done so this evening? Get information on? No one? Okay. The 8 o'clock is the adjournment, and I just wanted to ask the question of Linda. January 4th, and where Monday's the holiday, is that going to be, should we still be meeting on that date, or should it be like the 11th, like the following Thursday?
Normally we can handle it if it's on the 4th. We just need a day or two to do the to get all the financials in order. So we should be we should be fine with that date.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make the
But
offer.
thank you.
Since it was so close to the 1st. Okay. Anyone else? No one? Okay. I'll call for adjournment then. If there's no objection, we can adjourn at, hold on, guys. 8:15 p.m. Everyone okay with that?
Because I never, that kind of
Somebody's got their,
map out, kind of go.
nice to see you all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. Everybody stay well, okay?
Have a safe holiday, everybody.
Merry
See you in a
Christmas.
month.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Be well.